All right, guys, we are talking about the Legend of Billie Jean. But before we do, as always, I am joined by Michael Slustio.
Hello, everybody.
Chris Willenbrecht.
Hey, what's up?
And Kyle Smith.
Hey, how's it going?
First off, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being a part of the cult. This means so much to us that you guys are listening to us after all these years. Please leave us a review on iTunes. It just helps us out so much. Please write a review, and if you do, we'll give you a shout out at the end of the show. And guess what? We got one to do.
Shout out!
All right, guys. And then also make sure you head over to cultfilmandreview.com. If you can get it to function, you have won a prize because you can then put in your film request.
Can I just say, I tried to log in the other day so I could update the website's look and feel, and the login screen would never load. So
It's looking good.
I'm just letting people know when you go there, the site's slow
There
a
you
little
go.
bit.
But you can put in your requests, and if you do, we could pick your film to be reviewed on Cult Film Review, much like
Tonight,
The Legend of Billie Jean.
this is a fan pick.
Before we get into The Legend of Billie Jean and this being a fan pick and who it's from, let's get social with it. All right, guys. So this, as I said, it was a fan pick, Legend of Billie Jean. Chris, let us know, who was the fan? Why did they pick it?
This is from Mia Maraza. She requested The Legend of Billie Jean. She said, a great 1980s angsty teen action movie that stars Christian Slater in his first film role, starring alongside his real-life sister, plus a theme song by Pat Benatar. I don't know anyone who saw this movie when we were growing up and doesn't love it, male or female. 10 out of 10.
All right, that's from Mia.
That's from Mia.
Thank
you,
you,
Mia.
Thank you, Mia.
And excited that your film got picked.
All right, guys. So again, we're talking about Legend of Billie Jean. This was directed by Matthew Robbins. It was written by Lawrence Connor and Mark Rosenthal. It stars Helen Slater and Christian Slater, Keith Gordon, and Peter Coyote. Came out in 1985. Has a budget of I couldn't find it. It made $3 million in the box office, and it sits at a rating of PG-13. Rotten Tomatoes, it has a score of 39% critics and 75% audience.
Quite a
How much?
discrepancy.
So that-
Wait, what was that?
75.
Okay, that's a good discrepancy.
Yeah,
Huge
39 to 75.
discrepancy there.
Okay.
First, let's go ahead and just ask the question all around the room. Before this was suggested, had anyone seen this movie before? We'll start with Mike.
Okay, I've never seen this movie before, and I'll tell you why I've never seen it. I have heard this title a million times, and it has been recommended to me. And for some reason, I thought it was going to be some weird retrospective on Billie Jean King, the tennis player. I just like the name of it. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna watch that. I think that's some sports movie. And I just tied that into this.
Hey, Mike,
and for that reason, I never watched it.
Hey, Mike, you're on a cult film podcast, right?
Yeah.
You should check out this tennis movie.
Yeah.
It's a real weird art house.
Don't know
art
why
film.
that. But I just think it's something that tied in. I just immediately thought Billie Jean King, and I just assumed
No,
I'm never gonna watch this. It's a sports movie.
What about you, Chris?
I think, I didn't think Billie Jean King, but I always thought Billie Jean, is that somehow related to the Michael Jackson song? So, I had heard, like Mike, I had heard this title many times, had absolutely no idea what the hell the plot of the movie was. And it always does come up on lists, and as an 80s film, or a must-see 80s film, I feel like I've seen it show up quite a bit. So, but this was my first time seeing it.
Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, ditto. Everything they both said is true. I've had this film suggested to me. I've had the title thrown around a bunch, and no idea what the movie was, no idea what the plot was about, didn't know who was even in it. I didn't know who Billie Jean was. However, I did not think tennis or Michael Jackson, so I just assumed it was, I don't know, Legend of. I get mystical martial. I don't fucking know what I'm getting here.
All right, so Cody?
Hey, Cody, have you ever seen this before?
No, I haven't, and I've never seen the movie. So this is, I'm glad we're having this discussion because this is kind of funny to me, and this is why, I think cover art is so fucking important, right? I had never seen this movie, but I've seen physical copies of this movie in probably every Walmart I've ever fucking been in my life.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk down their
that's
DVD
interesting.
aisle, I swear I've seen this movie in the $5 section since the start of the $5 section.
Yeah.
And I always look at the cover, and I always thought, what's this what's this bike movie about? This bicycle movie about?
Yes!
And I don't know why.
Because
know
she's
why.
wearing a
It's-
bicycle
I
outfit.
think it's
Yeah,
she looks like
it's her
she's wearing a
outfit.
cyclist outfit.
Yeah,
like
she's about to
gloves.
go. This is a movie about
And-
the competition cycle circuit.
Yeah,
man.
and I'm always like, dude, that nothing sounds more boring to me than
Yeah.
a fucking
man.
bicycle
Marketing.
race.
Okay,
Now that
movie.
you
good.
said that,
So
fuck
again,
yeah.
not the only person that thought sports and immediately
No, not at
stayed
all.
away from
Yeah.
this film.
It does look like it. I mean, she's wearing like a wetsuit,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
it
I mean,
does
yeah,
look,
yeah.
it looks like
Yeah.
a cyclist. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would that's what I've always thought. So I'm always like, yeah, I've never like picked up the box and looked at the back of it or anything like that. Because also like this was not. I asked my sister who is 5 years older than me, who's like Generation X, like because I went and did some research on this movie after like I was like, what do people say? What did people say about this movie when they saw it? Blah blah blah. And she's like, no, I never even heard of that. So I was like, okay, well, that didn't help.
Yeah, guess it wasn't that
You know?
popular.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
I went into this totally blind, and I'm kind of glad I did.
Mike, I mean, you were 18 when this came out. Like, what was the vibe?
I was 5 when this film came out, and
15, yeah.
yeah, 15, and
Give or take 10 years.
I'll be honest. This is not a film
Right.
that I remember coming out in 1985 at all, or that people were talking about. I remember Back to the Future. I remember Teen Wolf. I remember Fright Night. I do not remember this film.
It's,
No.
it's really funny because from just some tertiary research, it's like, oh, it had a big impact on
again-
people on
Right.
audiences in the 80s. I'm like, who the fuck watched
Dude,
this?
a lot of people did.
Yeah.
I went on TikTok and I just put it in TikTok because I wanted to see what were people saying about this movie because I did not see it in the
You
time.
searched TikTok?
Yeah, search TikTok.
You went to Google and you typed in TikTok?
No, I went to TikTok and I
TikTok will
searched,
tell you.
typed in TikTok.
typed in TikTok, and I went into TikTok and I typed in Legend of Billie Jean, and and
We'll cut that out.
everything came up. Everything came up about just people being like how this movie like affected them.
Yeah.
And there was some like really good answers, like where I was like blown away, where it was like, you know, we'll get into this in the movie. And I can change where this part of the conversation goes if we need to cut it out. But basically, like there was a person on there who was like, "Hey, I was an abused child when I saw this movie, and because I saw this movie when I was like an abused child, it gave me the strength to now that I help children."
Oh, because that scene?
Like yes,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
now I help children. Now I'm in the position to where I can help children because of the inspiration
Yeah.
this movie gave me.
Yeah.
So this movie really fucking affected people.
How old were the people in the videos? Were they of all ages, or were they generally kind of like Gen X? era?
There was a Gen Z
Yeah.
video.
What about-
I saw a Gen Z review of it.
Okay.
like,
What about the gender leaning? Like, I wonder if this
Both
is
male
more
and
prominently
female.
like a
Yeah.
female.
But it was both male and female
Okay.
that were in there.
Because I do think that I probably
I wasn't born yet
had
when
I-
this came out, so I don't have.
had I been
insights.
15, had I really been 15, I think that this probably would have been on my radar.
Right.
I going back of thinking of the films that my parents liked. My mom liked horror, so Fright Night makes a lot of sense. Back to the Future is like a family film. Everybody saw that film. You know, I don't think that Legend of Billie Jean would have been a film that my parents would have been like, "Hey, let's take the kids and go
a little
watch
too
the Legend of Billie Jean."
underground,
Yeah.
maybe for
Yeah.
their liking.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this one definitely probably flew under the radar at the time.
Oh, I
like,
agree.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
video store kind of prime for video
Yeah,
store.
this
Discovery.
feels like a movie that was like banking on the physical sales after the
That,
fact.
yeah, TV. You
Well,
know,
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into this. I say it's time for plots and shots with Mike.
The Legend of Billie Jean. This takes place in Corpus Christi, Texas. Our two characters are Billie Jean Davy and her brother Binks Davy. They live on like the wrong side of the tracks. Like they live in the poor area of Corpus Christi. And they kind of have like bullies, I guess you would say, at this place. They're the richer kids, right? Or like the more well-off kids of that area. They're always kind of
They just
making
look
fun.
like assholes.
Yeah, they're just assholes. It's pretty clear that one of them maybe has a crush on Billie Jean because Billie Jean is known, and everybody comments in it that how pretty she is throughout the entire film. So they're doing that. They're making it. His brother, on the other hand, is kind of like this kid who just happens to have inherited a fairly nice scooter motorcycle kind of thing, and you know, they're out at a local like a shake shop, and they're giving him a hard time about the motorcycle, and he stands up for himself. He throws a shake in their face, and he drives away with his sister, right? And eventually they catch up with him, and they steal his bike, and well, Billie Jean takes it upon herself. She's like, I'm going to go and get that money back, or I'm going to get that bike back, right? She goes to the bully's father's business. He's like a shop owner. And she tries to retrieve the money, and the father shows up and he says, "Yeah, I'll give you the money," but he ends up trying to kind of sexually assault her while he's upstairs with her, right? She gets away, but in the process of that, the brother gets a hold of a gun that's in the cash register and accidentally shoots the father. Doesn't kill him, just injures him, right? And then they go out on the run, right? And the news kind of blows it up, right? These kids, there's these thieves, and they went and they stole everything. But rather than demonizing them in the social eye, what ends up happening is kind of like the kids start to look at them as like a representation, like heroes, right? They all start like idolizing them. And the further they go on this kind of escape from the cops and everybody else, the more the excitement builds around them. They become like local celebrities. And at some point in time, Billie Jean even takes on kind of the role of a protector of these children. And, that's how the film ends. They're still looking for the bike. They want to get the bike, though.
Still looking for that bike.
All right, Mike, what are we sipping on tonight?
Okay, tonight I have a special treat for you guys. We're calling this drink the Billie Jean Blast. So this thing, I'm going to say, I'll be honest with you, it has a little bit of a punch to it. I'll give you some ideas. Do you want to taste it first and then give you ideas?
Wait, let me ask this question. Do I want to mix the cream in with it?
Yeah, that was my question.
I would say try it first. If it's a little too strong, then I would mix the cream in it. Because the cream is actually a last-minute addition. I have no idea. I just feel like it's maybe...
1, 2, 3.
Whoa, dude, it can peel some paint off the walls, but it is good.
Okay.
It's strong, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, this is a big punch. So my...
Do you know what this tastes like? I want to tell you what this tastes like right now.
Tell me what it tastes like.
This tastes like that one time you and I made an orange cello with 151.
Because guess what's in it?
Orange.
Absolute orange cello, in fact.
Orange cello.
There's no drinking in this film. They talk about taking uppers at one point in time, but I figured that's for another night, maybe. But I did get, like, there's a lot of this film that takes place in a mall. There's a big scene that takes place in a mall, and I was just like, all right, this film gives me, like, mall vibes, like 80s mall vibes. What's the most quintessential 80s mall drink? And I thought, Orange Julius. Orange Julius is the most quintessential one.
You captured it.
Yes, you did.
It is orange cello, a little bit of liquor 43,
Delicious.
and a touch of rum, just to kind of give it a little bit more sweetness, I thought, because the orange cello could be a little bit much. The orange cello is homemade, but you can just buy some. It's I'm sure. And then I put a little bit of cream on top because I just kind of feel like that's a component in Orange Julius is cream. That's what gives it the like kind of vanilla flavor to
it's
it.
good,
so yeah.
It's so strong though. I'm not gonna lie, my belly is so warm right now.
I'm gonna say that I think if I had used
lots of rubs.
Lots of rubs
on my belly to warm it up.
My tummy's so
My
warm.
tum-tum is so warm.
It's so warm.
It's like
it
a
feels like
goddamn
an oven
furnace.
in here.
My description instead of his warm tummy description was going to be this is a very sweet drink that would put hair on your chest.
Yeah.
But we'll go with warm tubby.
Warm tubby.
I will say that I think
warm
that the
tum-tum.
reason it is a little strong is because this is my mother's homemade orange cello. She uses Everclear to make this stuff.
Oh,
wow.
So it can be a bit heavy.
Yeah.
Is this
and alcohol.
Everclear?
There's,
No, I mean,
there's
it's cut
Everclear
right?
made
It's
with
cut.
it.
Not this.
But it's cut, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
it's cut
totally
with
cut.
water.
It should be around 40%, but you never know.
Yeah, you
I
never
mean,
do.
it's not like we measured the volume.
Well, let's get into this movie, Legend of Billie Jean. Again, fan picks, so make sure you guys head over to cultfilmandreview.com and get your fan picks in because they will get eventually picked. Man, I guess the way I want to start out with this was like, I was not expecting a movie with so many layers and topics that it wanted to talk about. As far as like teen angst, like, you know, what is fair is as far as between a child and
class
adult,
differences,
class
yeah.
differences.
Idolization.
The only way I can think of saying this, talking shit, right?
Yep.
Like how that affects people. This is even before social media. So it's just, there's so much in this movie as far as like messaging wise goes. Like it's kind of crazy. Like we said in the opening of the film, it's the scene where Binks gets his motorbike stolen, and he saved up his money to buy this as a poor kid living in a trailer park. He spent all of his money on this bike, and their whole mission.
I thought it was an investment thing, sorry. Or an inheritance.
Yeah,
thing.
It was an inheritance.
It was
It's like
his
his
father
father
died
passed
and left him
then,
this
yeah.
I thought
so it's the last thing from his dad.
I thought it was the
That's the
money that he
importance.
got from his dad he bought that he used to buy this bike.
Yes,
Maybe.
that is what
But
it was.
the bike is
Okay.
tied to the death of his father.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, which is a huge, yes, is an important thing. So what I'm saying is there is a ton of different themes from classism and all this stuff, and it's kind of where it starts out. Is it starts with the classism theme, and I just kind of want to talk about, I guess, the different themes and their execution of the themes, and how they did. I think, like, as far as me, I think the classism was a well done message in this. I guess what I really want to talk about where they dropped the ball for me in this is it felt like the sexual assault part of this movie was almost like a throwaway, and the fact that they were more concerned about the money than the fact that this man should probably be locked up. And I don't know if it's just a product of the times.
No, look,
Product of the time.
you're hitting
For
on
sure.
something that I think this film suffers from in general, which is it never spends, I feel like, enough time establishing, like, really truly an invested emotion into what these kids are doing or why they're doing them. I'm not, I don't mean to, like, start off on, like, a sour note, but I think what you're hitting on is, yes, with the sexual assault, it's almost like they forget about it. They're just concerned about this really arbitrary number that is tied to this scooter,
Right.
which to me is like, yeah, why do they keep breezing over, like, some of these, like, bigger topics that could have, it left a lot to be desired, is what I'll say.
I think here's my theory on it. I think that I believe this is PG or PG-13.
13.
13. I think that they were trying to make a film geared towards teenagers, and they did not want to delve too deeply into dark subjects. There are moments in it where it sounds like the screenwriter might be trying to say some things, but they are throwaway lines. For instance, there is a moment after the whole mall scene where they're interviewing kids, and they ask one girl, like, what do you think's going on here? And she's like, well, I just think that, Billie Jean is just being kind of, like, attacked personally because she's a girl, and I think that that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I just kind of felt like, okay, this ties a little bit back into the sexism and how she was
Sure.
treated with the father and stuff like
Right.
that. But it really doesn't really come back into play until the very end of the
To
film.
the very end of the film.
Yeah.
And that's, again, I almost wondered what if it almost makes you question: are they saying that the classism is more devastating than like? And I'm not saying that's what they're saying. Like, I just
This is the 80s.
this is the
Yeah.
80s though, and it's like you wonder if that's like why they
What's
kind of
important at the time.
they kind of brush over it, and they're focused more
They
on the
do
money
They
aspect
make
of
the
it.
distinction, but in the same way that Karate Kid makes the distinction. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the bullies are a little bit richer, they have a little bit more money. Personally, I'm going to say something. I do think there as I was watching this whole film, there's a certain 80s way of making a film that I do actually kind of miss nowadays.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it is like the really just like not like having to point things out or having to have long big monologues about classism or having to say stuff like that. You just kind of have to watch the film a few times to get those points. And I feel like this film does a pretty good job at that. Like, it's obvious that the father is not super rich,
Right.
but he is the richest guy in this little town, probably, or at least
Well, he's
well
got
off in this.
He's
in
got
this
enough
town.
to pay the bill.
Yeah, he has enough to
probably,
pay the
yeah.
bills. He's well off.
I didn't
He's
get
not
that
living
vibe from him at all.
Well, I mean,
Scumbag.
he does make jokes to say that, like, the guy he consistently says, like, oh yeah, these are trailer trash kids. Like,
Yeah,
they live on the
put
wrong side of the
themselves
track.
above it.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And through that, he also tries to exploit them multiple times, not only sexually, but even monetarily.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
Billie Jean does become a little bit more popular, he starts selling pictures of her.
Yeah.
Like, he's all ready
Right.
to make a buck off of her,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, scumbag.
there
Classic
is
scumbag.
inherent things about classism that is being said in this film.
Right.
It's just doing it in like a very PG-13.
I think we all
kiddie way.
assumed he was
Yeah.
had some kind of financial influence in that town or area where they
I did not
were,
get
like-
that.
I
like,
don't think he was a
I didn't-
big.
I did
don't
not
At
think he
get
was
least,
a
at least in the
big
community
man.
that they were in, like her being the teenager,
I
like
think he wasn't a big big
No,
guy.
yeah,
I
not a
don't-
big player,
but
but just like
somebody who everyone knew who he was. He's
I
like,
don't-
oh, he owns
I
that
don't even-
corner.
He just turned out
Yeah,
to be the piece
exactly.
of shit kid's father, honestly.
I don't even think that much of it. I think they're hitting classism almost as a two-pronged system here, right? We have the physical money part of classism where it is like they're poor and they have we'll just say they're a middle class family. This guy owns his own business. We'll just go that far,
Okay.
right? and they have this. But it's also classism in I'm an adult and you're a kid.
Yeah.
And what I
Yes.
say is true and what you say is not.
I agree. I used to joke around a long time ago. I had a girlfriend who had a kid, and we used to watch a lot of Disney Channel
Yeah.
stuff. And I noticed that there was always a running theme in Disney Channel things where it was kids were always like, I just need to be who I want to be, and no one's, everyone doesn't want me to be who I want to be, and expressing myself,
Yeah.
and I always felt like, is that a thing? Do kids always feel like they're always not able to be themselves or express themselves in a certain way? I mean, I haven't been that age in a long time.
Right.
I don't recall that, but I do feel like that is a way of saying expressing your individuality or being somebody or showing a value of worth, right? Which I do think is a theme in this film, that Billie Jean, everybody talks about how pretty she is and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, she's constantly being exploited. And it isn't until she goes out on the lam that society kind of starts propping up, and then she takes this role as this Joan of Arc figure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think it's a perfect execution. It does bounce around a lot.
Right.
But
Well,
I think they're just trying to deliver this in a very teenage way.
I want to talk about. Let's start focusing on that because I'm sure we'll come in and out of the themes of this film. But one of the things I do want to talk about is the character of Billie Jean herself, played by Helen Slater. I think the person who said that they recommended this film, that it's the real life sister of Christian Slater.
They are not.
They're not.
They're not. They're
I can see how you could think that though, because I thought it
immediately.
Born in the same state. I did too. I had to look it up because I was like, oh, I didn't know that Helen Slater, the Supergirl, was Christian Slater's sister. And it wasn't because I read the thing. I immediately said, well, that's weird. Two people named Slater in a film.
Very weird.
And they're playing brother and sister. So obviously. And I looked it up. No, they're not related. He has a brother. They were both born in New York, but I think he was born in New York City and she was born more kind of upstate or something.
I also
like
read that he was 15 when he made this movie.
This is his first film.
He became very kind of obsessed with Helen Slater in the sense that he thought they were destined to be together because of the name relation. He thought I'm supposed to marry this person.
It's a little bit
Can I tell you
incestuous, but
something?
okay.
Their chemistry in the very beginning of the film comes off as he is interested in her.
Totally.
So weird.
Dude, this is a conscious
sibling-
choice the filmmakers had to have made.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's
The way they fucking shoot this whole scene at the fucking pond, that is so bizarre.
I'm going to tell you
dude.
what I think happened here, and I'll be honest, because I do feel like this scene has a little oozing sexuality to it.
Does absolutely.
I think that they were trying to do that kind of old trope of when you don't have a lot of money, you got to go down to the local watering hole, and you don't have a bathing suit, so you have to jump in, and all the kids jump into the pool. But it's weird because there's just she's dressed in a way that I feel like is provocative.
Oh,
in
I mean,
a way.
they turn it into a sexy poster later on in the movie.
Right. So I just kind of feel like that's where that vibe. I think it was a dichotomy of a director or some decision maker trying to sex it up a little bit, while keeping it PG-13.
Yes.
Which is very different in 1985 than it is now.
Yeah,
by the way.
100% agree. I think that decision was just to get butts in seats and to keep people kind of into it. It is creepy and it's
Could have
weird
had
the
a
way
sex
that they
scene
were.
with Arnie. I mean, why did they? I don't know.
I agree with you. I don't know why they made that decision at that moment. I do think it feels weird because they are
Sex scene with Arnie?
Sorry, I called him Arnie
Boyd.
from
His
Christine.
name is Boyd.
Yeah.
What? The kid that's a dork.
That she
the
falls
dork,
in love
the
with
video
later,
dork.
the video nerd later.
Okay.
But I do get what you're saying because it does feel a little weird because they're kind of grown and they're just
They're
very
teenagers,
comfortable
right? Yeah.
being
But also at the same time,
against...
but no, at the same time in that scene though, Christian Slater is acting like this, really young, behind the, super behind, unexperienced, really young kid, almost
I agree.
he's playing 10 years
Super
younger
immature,
than he
yeah.
is. Yeah, immature.
He's
Thank you.
obsessed with his scooter. He doesn't give a fuck
He
about
doesn't give a
anything.
fuck about
Yeah.
his sister. He doesn't give a
That's
fuck
not
about
what I'm
anything.
saying. What I'm saying is the filmmakers made a conscious choice to make this scene feel sexy.
No,
and it's,
I agree with you.
and
I
it's
think
with
Which
his-
is
with her
my
brother.
my disagreement is I don't think it was a conscious effort to necessarily make it quote unquote sexy between them. It's just we wanted to see Billie Jean as Billie Jean because that's what people are coming to the movie to see.
Going into the character of Billie Jean herself, could be one of the most pure characters I've seen in a film in a long time.
Pure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
As far as
yeah.
like innocence wise,
sure,
like
sure.
as far as a noble cause, like a noble
Yeah, she played it well.
thing from the beginning to the end. There is no gray area that you really get with Billie Jean where it's like she is just good throughout. You would think that would be a detriment to a character, but it's not. You actually do see her go through an arc of being like a good person to a good person who has had enough but is still going to do things the right way. Which is a very refreshing thing. It's not like I had enough and now I gotta turn bad.
Get my own. Get my piece.
Yeah.
She's not gonna John Wick him up, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
no. She's like, no, we're gonna still be the noble cause in this one. We're still gonna fight this.
We're not
Fair
gonna
is
break.
fair.
We're not
still
gonna
gonna be
break.
fair.
We're not gonna break the laws.
She's
We're gonna do it the right way.
whole deal is
Yeah.
she's trying to prove that she's not what people say she is.
Which
Right.
in a
Right.
weird way, I will say, is kind of the opposite of Binks, her brother.
Yeah,
who is
Binks
almost
wants to be
always talking about like
Yes.
maybe we should just rob people.
Binks wants to be the fucking train robbers, the fucking
Yes.
all of the cult heroes of yesteryear.
All the kids are kind of that, right? And like the other two that joined them, Yeardley Smith, Lisa Simpson's in this movie. Great
Yeah.
part. She
did a great job. I love her.
She's so
in
good.
this.
Plays putter.
Yeah, Putter. And then
Yeah.
I forgot what the other girl's name is. Terrible name for
Ophelia.
her. Ophelia. Two
Ophelia, yeah.
terrible names.
I
love
it's
Putter.
okay.
That's
I
a
think
great
Putter is a
name.
great
Putter
80s.
is a
That is a great
fantastic
80s. I
name.
feel like a lot of 80s
some
names
golf
when it came to
reference
like
going
the
on.
kids, like it's always like Shades or Putter or like some.
What's with the mini
something.
golf shit too? I'm like, what is
Yeah.
there like a golf thing?
Yeah,
going
did
on
she
with this
did
guy?
she kill someone with a putter? Is that
I
why they
don't
call
know.
her Putter now?
I loved her in this film.
Oh, same.
my God.
I love her in every movie I
Agree.
see her in.
Yeah.
Agree.
It is so. When you close your eyes, it is impossible not to hear Lisa Simpson every time.
I
though.
mean, when I open my eyes though, I'm like, she stands on her own.
no,
she
I-
does.
absolutely.
100%.
She stands on her own. Yeah.
100%.
Oh, that fucking scene at the. I mean, are we jumping around? Is this a
Yeah.
jumping around episode?
Yeah,
that
it's whatever.
That scene towards like the middle when she gets her period for the first time,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like that moment she has with Billie Jean, it was like so fucking beautiful.
I'm
Right.
not, I'm not
so-
gonna lie. It was a little awkward for me, but
Yeah, I was like, I didn't find it that beautiful, but
It was nice. It was.
that was
I
like
think the
her
way it was
owning it?
performed and written was great.
they related it to her getting shot, which I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Her owning it, her just owning.
Oh,
no,
that
her
was at the
owning moment.
beginning. Yeah, that made it weird for you.
It's just kind of a weird thing.
They're like, oh no, you've been shot because she has hand full of
right,
blood.
and then
but yeah.
and then it's just like, no, I
Well,
had
'cause
what? Like, how did that happen?
bullets were flying. Like
she reached in-
Remember?
yeah.
Caroline Williams and her boyfriend were
Yeah.
shooting.
And before they flipped the monster truck, yeah.
It was just a weird way of shoehorning that in. She could have just gotten her period at any point in time. I guess it was a cute way that
It
decided
is
to
a kind
do
of a
it, but-
clever way to bring it
Yeah.
up. But
Was no one else watching this movie? And when that scene came out, go, is that fucking Caroline Williams?
I did not think stretch. you know?
really, wow.
Yeah.
I was
Oh.
like, hell yeah.
Yeah, same with me, Chris. I was like, hell yeah,
Of
this
course,
is awesome.
a Texas movie.
Yeah.
Right. But like in that scene, I thought her just owning the moment and just owning it. Like I thought the same thing as
Well,
Kyle. I thought it was a great.
I will
great-
say this too, and another thing that I feel like I see a lot in like the older films, like the '80s films that I like a lot, are like these characters that have these just like hints of a B story going on in the background. It's very clear that Putter is like, you know, I'm just a kid and I'm like want to go out and I want to be an adult.
Yeah.
No one wants to let
She's
me
on.
be
She's
an
on
adult.
that edge
Yeah.
the whole
No,
movie.
her thing is like I want to. I gotta get the fuck out of here because my mom beats the shit out. of me.
Yeah.
That's
no,
also a
I
big
know.
part of it,
There's
yeah.
definitely
Child
an
abuse, that's
yeah.
another thing going on. Yeah.
Child
Quite the theme in
Child
this film.
abuse is a big theme in this, and I think it's like, man, that scene. Let's just talk about that scene where Billie Jean she is already transformed into.
She's not the hero. She's the,
hero.
cult hero. Everyone
And
sees her.
These kids are like, hey, you're Billie Jean. Like, we need your help. Come with us, and she goes.
What was that kid's name?
I don't remember
Damn.
the kid's name
What
exactly.
do you mean?
Timmy needs help or
It's
something.
not Timmy,
yeah.
but whoever it was.
But
the
anyways-
kid who was getting beat by his drunk father.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
That
That's what we're
whole
talking about.
scene is
Yeah.
fucking amazing with the whole
dude, the way-
neighborhood outside
Uh-huh.
and like the way that dad just flips with all the and it just shows the power of like when you work together, you can change
But
things.
but I really liked. I don't know why, but I loved that when she first like walked in, so like nervous, and
Yeah.
like the way she even approached the whole situation was felt so visceral and like
wasn't
holy
ready for it.
fucking shit. Like, what are you gonna walk
She didn't
into
know the
here?
power
Like,
she wielded until she wielded
until she
it.
saw all the people
Yeah.
around,
But
and
she
she was like,
never-
"Fuck yeah."
She never abuses that power, and I
Never.
love that.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
She is constantly
She stays,
telling she's constantly telling
virtuous.
Binks over and over and over, we're not going to do this. We're
Right.
not going to do this the wrong way. And there are multiple times where she tries to. I don't want to say like turn on her friends because it's not turning on her friends,
No,
but like
no, it's
she
protecting
doesn't.
them.
She's protecting them without
Dude.
letting them know because she knows
Right.
that she's wielding a certain level of power and they're just
When-
following her anywhere.
Yeah.
when
I
the
love it.
cop shows up to Yeardley Smith and,
I love
and
that cop,
Ophelia.
by the
Peter
way.
Coyote.
I
Yeah,
fucking
he's great.
love
When
that,
he-
that
oh,
cop.
man, he's terrible.
Oh,
Terrible
come
cop.
on!
Terrible
this
cop.
movie.
But he's a great actor. Terrible cop.
Oh, you mean in terms of like his
Oh.
execution?
Oh,
yeah,
in terms
so-
of
yeah.
Yeah,
the
okay.
decision-making skills are terrible.
Right.
Well, when he shows up and the two are sleeping in the back of the car, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to take you home," and he's like, "Hey, it was Billie Jean who turned you in." I was like, "Wow, that is such an action movie male trope in every film where it's like, hey, it's getting too dangerous, so I'm going to leave in the middle of the night." And
Oh,
you're
yeah.
gonna wake up and they're gonna be just left behind, and I'm gonna go fight the bad guy.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And eventually they will come back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's such a male movie action trope that I love that they gave her that
she
same
did the same.
power,
She had the same power.
that
yeah.
same sacrifice of
Same-
like
yeah.
I am saving you from further trouble
Yeah.
because you're not strong enough to handle what I'm about to go do, which is travel around with a bunch of people that look exactly like me.
Also, I'm gonna
to
say,
go 5 feet. I don't
Also-
know how big Corpus Christi is, but it seems to be
coincidentally,
huge.
she. I don't know if anyone noticed. She basically just kept taking the same car, being picked up by different drivers, but the same car. The whole
Yeah,
film.
man.
I did not notice that.
Yeah.
It was they were bouncing between a Camaro and a Datsun.
Budget reasons.
Yeah, well, you know.
But no, I do love the fact that, and I that she stays pure, and she's always one step ahead. She is always one step ahead of the law because, again, he's an incompetent cop. We'll get into. I love his acting, I do, but this motherfucker, they go, and again, this shows classism, right? The poor people go to report that their motorbike was stolen, and they're told to wait a fucking couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go
Right.
look for the thief.
Here's the thing.
I'm sure
It'll
he'll
show
bring it
up.
back.
It'll
Here's the
show
thing.
up.
Here's the thing. I will agree this was his biggest mistake. He didn't take this seriously. But I don't think he makes a lot of mistakes really after this.
I
He's just
don't-
trying to correct himself at this point.
I do want to agree. There is a moment that did kind of rub me a little bit the wrong way with his character, where, they steal the bike and everything like that, and the guy's name is Hubie, right, or Hobie?
Hubie.
Yeah,
Hubie.
Hubie.
He makes this comment where she's just like, yeah, blah blah blah, this guy's horrible and stuff like that, and she's like, well, maybe Hubie just like has a crush on you.
I hated
Yeah.
And I
that.
remember being like,
Oh,
what
I
a
hated
fucking
that.
shitty thing to
I
say to a
hated
girl.
that.
It doesn't
They had,
Like all
matter.
this trauma that you're experiencing
Dude, there
right
was-
now. It's all just,
There were
it's just into
multiple
you.
lines
It's
like
just
that
like
in this
it.
movie.
Dude.
I was like, fuck.
But think about when we were growing up, like how many times were girls told
I
that?
bet
Yes,
you all
yeah.
of them.
Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
oh, there's this boy in school and he keeps hitting me. Oh, well, that means he likes you.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that he's punching you in the face, Susie,
Yeah.
means that
He
he
just
likes
wants you to pay attention to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how
he
else to
wants
show
to
his
start a
love.
family and he doesn't know how to ask.
Yeah.
No doubt.
You know, it's insane. Like that's
Yeah.
just that's kind of like, I think that kind of goes with the changing of the teens and their mentality, right? And the adults in this movie of like, hey,
Yeah.
like we have a different mentality than you, and it's we're
Yeah.
not.
We're in charge. You don't know anything. You're
Right.
a
Yeah,
kid.
there's a lot of
like,
that.
yeah, it's
Yes.
and but that of course flips on its head because she becomes the hero.
Right. And then, like, I want to talk real quick, too, and then we'll take a real quick break. I just want to mention this because it's been killing me to say this. Could they not afford Stacy Keach? Was he not
Yo,
available?
I thought every time I see this actor in something, I think it's Stacy Keach.
Which actor? Oh my god!
The
I
guy
who
can't,
plays
I can't
Pyatt.
picture Stacey
The-
Keach in my head.
He was in
Stacy Keach?
Class
You're
of
talking about Mr.
1999.
Pyatt. Mr.
Yeah.
Pyatt, the
Yeah.
shop owner.
That's Stacy Keach right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
White
been
hair,
in,
flat top, banana eating motherfucker.
been in every fucking movie we've ever reviewed.
Has it? Have we reviewed his entire filmography?
Damn near close. Yes, damn near close.
They're very similar. What's his
Your
actor's
orange
name?
dreamsicle's working.
This, I
I'm
think-
starting to see things now.
It's not Stacy Keach. The actor's name is Richard Bradford.
Yeah.
Richard
Who
Bradford.
also
He's a low budget Stacey Keach.
No,
he's-
no, he has a history.
Isn't Stacy Keach a low budget Stacy Keach?
Well, Stacey Keach, who I guess would be a low budget version of this guy.
Keach imposter.
But keep in mind, I think he did fantastic in this film. I think he was wonderful.
He was good. He played a scumbag like really
Real
great.
hateable.
Great hate, yeah,
Real
big-
hateable.
Wanted to-
Big
I don't want to
piece
hate
of
that
shit.
guy.
Big piece of shit.
All right, guys, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Legend of Billie Jean. All right, guys, we're back. We're talking about Legend of Billie Jean. Fan pick came out in 1985, made $3 million in the box office. No one here saw it originally when it came out because we were all too
I was
young.
being born.
Bing, bang, boom.
I was being bored.
I wasn't born yet.
But no, all right. So we talked about the main characters being and Billie Jean being exact opposites almost of each other, Billie Jean staying very true to her character. I think let's kind of focus on the theme of justice. I think I want to kind of jump into that theme now. That's a huge theme in this movie. Yeah. This is where I think you're supposed to also get your like, oh fuck moment. When she comes out, this is where she comes out in her cycling uniform,
which is inspired because they watched an episode of the movie Joan of Arc from
from the Criterion Collection,
right? From the Criterion.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah,
but I will say, so again, this is one of the I think we suffer a little bit in reviewing this movie from the fact that we were not the target audience to see this movie when this movie came out.
Yeah,
as far as we're not kids seeing this.
Yes.
Yeah. Because again, I in doing my research and going and seeing what people have to say about this film who were around during the time and saw this, this was like they were like, oh shit, when she showed up like that. When she comes out in that outfit, there is a oh shit moment for them. It was a very much like, holy fuck, she's a badass.
I mean, is she breaking norms for the 1985?
Not at all.
By being dressed like that?
No, not at all.
I don't know why people are losing their minds over it.
No.
I think it's just seeing the transformation of a beautiful girl also transforming into a beautiful girl.
Okay.
With a little bit of an edge to her.
It's a very shallow point, but a point nonetheless.
I think cutting your hair short at the time had a lot of ramifications.
Are you sure, dude? Because I feel like my mom rocked that haircut from 1980 to fucking now.
No. Trends can start from one person saying I'm going to rebel against a certain style, and then everybody adopts it. I mean, look,
Grace still pretty punk, man.
Grace Jones was at the top of her game in 1985. Her whole thing was about kind of challenging gender norms.
How I connected to this moment, though, and how I connected it to the rest of the film was I was like, holy shit, she's Eminem. Like when Eminem? Yes, like when Eminem came out.
The whole time you were watching this film, you kept thinking, holy shit, she's Eminem?
No, listen for fucking 2 seconds. Let me finish a thought. Maybe you'll get there.
I mean, it's just very funny. It's just funny that we brought this to Eminem, but I'm ready to listen.
Yes, please. Thank you. So,
you gotta lose yourself in the music in the moment.
If you would remember, in the early 2000s when Eminem was very popular during our time, how many kids did you know fucking came to school that year with bleach blonde hair? Because I was fucking one of them.
Yeah, there were some people that were obsessed.
That's why I love the intro of 21 Jump Street with Jonah Hill so much, because he's dressed like Eminem at the beginning of that movie, and there was at least 5 guys I was in high school with who dressed the same fucking way.
Well, that's true.
So that's how I was able to connect with this moment, because I was like, holy shit, this was like being in school and seeing everybody come to school, all the guys come to school dressed like Eminem at the same fucking year. Slim Shady. Mm-hmm. Everybody was dressing as Billie Jean. Like they took over this whole look in this. It was like a calling card. It meant
in the
something
movie.
In the movie, it meant
something.
something.
Yeah, and they play that up with Yeardley Smith cutting her hair off.
Oh,
too,
dude, that's a moment. What a moment is that? Again, I wish I was a kid.
Oh, because I was like, she gonna stab her mom right now with these scissors, and she ends up just chopping her hair
right
off
in front of her, like fuck you, mom.
Yeah, real angry.
Yeah, power to the fucking teenagers. I loved it.
Yeah,
I love that moment because it's dude, the arm post. We'll get into that in a minute. She hit that real weird. But that moment when she gets, again, one of my favorite things is she just hauls off, again, 1980s, different than today, because she just goes and hauls off and smacks the shit out of her daughter.
Oh, my God.
In front of 20 people.
In front of the police.
And,
and the cops are like, hey,
it's her mom.
And actually,
hold on a sec, though.
Okay.
They were talking about this is the same fucking movie where a bunch of cops and other people stand around and watch this guy's shit burn down, a fire rage on. You know what I mean?
Also, shoot a kid.
This town doesn't fucking care.
They know when to care and when not to care. Not really.
I actually read that Yeardley Smith had talked about that scene, and the woman that played her mother, she really hauled off and slapped the fucking shit out of her.
Oh, it looks like it.
She was like, oh, yeah, she hit me really, really hard during that scene. It was not fake.
Hopefully it was a one take, huh?
I don't know if it was one take, but it was definitely the
this
take
movie
that
looks
was
like a one take.
But I feel like
they went with.
that scene alone is like another they kind of do this thing with the movement of her where you're like, I don't understand it, because it starts off. There's nothing that really gets the kids to go. There's no indication that any of the kids in the neighborhood or any of the kids watching this stuff would go like, yeah, she's lying. or they're lying about what they're saying, right? Like at no point, like, is it really like there's something physically on the news for the kids to see all around this town that no, the parents are really lying. They just
Is it supposed to be the word of mouth thing? Because she runs into like the kids at the gas station and they're like, "Did you do this?" No, we didn't do. You know, and they're like kind of making their case.
Well,
to
they
the
had the
kids.
scene in the police station as well,
Right,
where they're
but are
showing
you
all
just
the
gonna-
map of.
Are you just gonna believe two yuckles like who are yuckles? I don't know what that is.
Yokel.
How many
Yuckles?
yuckles are
Yeah.
we gonna rate this?
Yeah, are you just,
What is that image?
are you just gonna okay two bunkins who are just telling me that this or what the news is telling me on TV that all these it's just so weird.
What did that guy say? They said when he got
there's nothing that happens in front of the kids to make them go like, oh shit, dude, all the adults are lying. They just instantly are on board with it.
Can I tell you what this film reminded me of when I was watching it? And I don't know correct me if I'm wrong in the analogy here, but I kind of felt like this was like the Natural Born Killers of like 1985.
Yes! I was gonna say
For
Natural Born
teenagers.
Killers as
like,
well.
it's the same kind of theme of like.
Also true
yeah,
romance.
they're going out and they're doing this thing, but they have a, they're somewhat, I mean, they're doing horrible things, but like they're justified in a way, and then they become bigger than life because society embraces
they
the
exploit them.
persona more than the fact that they're horrible people. In this, I think they're not horrible people, but they are still kind of like, they're still heirs of like an outlaw on screen being like becoming a hero in the hearts.
This feels like an
of
old trope.
I mean, it's a Robin Hood technically.
She goes as far as meeting randomly up with a person who happens to have video equipment that can make multiple copies, and she can get her case out there by having children deliver videotapes
What
to
a
the
lucky
local
pick.
news stations.
What a lucky pick on that house.
Oh, super lucky.
Well, I mean, he is the district
Werewolf
attorney's
creeping
son.
around,
Yeah.
Right?
That
is a weird moment.
What
by the
is-
way.
What is that about that little spooky werewolf
That
scene?
spooky werewolf thing
It's-
is weird.
So
It really
that's
fucking
what,
is.
That's what blows my mind about this. Like, why is his dad the district attorney, but have a fucking haunted
It's a
house in his
twist,
house?
baby.
What's being implied here is that Dad is never home. Lloyd has free reign of the house.
I also like to note that, like, I think it's really funny that, like, at this time, the trope of a nerd is like somebody who's really into audio video equipment. Like, I feel like I've seen that a
But
lot.
cool enough
in
to
other
get
movies.
but
Big
cool
80s
enough to
thing.
get someone like Billie Jean, obviously, right?
I mean, yeah,
like,
he's cool
But he's
enough.
just a good, like, he's like the first dude who's just not a fucking flat out asshole because she's
True.
pretty, which is like
Yeah.
the
I don't
80s
know,
thing
man.
to do.
The
Again.
looks that Keith Gordon
Yeah.
is giving Helen Slater in this movie are spooky. I'm like, that is a really.
I mean, can we
like,
just talk
it
about
is
how
weird.
it is that your house gets invaded, and the first thought you think is, I'm going to put on full werewolf makeup and, like, spook 'em.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Like, you don't know what these kids are. One of them's got a gun, apparently.
yeah, welcome to
Dude,
my
it was
house.
it was the
Like-
80s, you know?
No, man, this was never a thing.
I'm sorry. How did you guys make friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I waited around for people to break
Dumb.
into my
I
house,
know
and then
that's
I
how I-
befriended
that's how I
them
know- that's how I
immediately.
met
You
Chris,
leave
I
the
walked
front
into his
door
house and he
open,
showed up as Dracula.
obviously, and then you befriend whoever walks in.
Yeah,
Second
that's
he-
your best friend now.
Second, he took
Get-
that mask off. Freaking Billie Jean fell in love, dude.
Oh my
She was
God.
like,
Pretty
she was
much.
hypnotized.
She was just like,
How
I
could you not
thought
be?
you were a
Lloyd.
sexy werewolf, but you're a sexy man in a
How could you
werewolf.
not be
costume.
by-
And you know what?
Lloyd.
Just to keep with like the like the 80s adventure theme, a water slide, going out the window, down into the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Dude, how fun was that?
What every kid wants.
Yeah, except for our hero who's just starting to go through her transformation as she's watching Joan of Arc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Sucked in.
She's thinking
Ignoring the youthful play,
Yeah.
growing up in that
it's
moment.
time. That's the moment.
Right. But I don't know, man. She's an action star through and through. I feel that way with her.
Joan of Arc?
Helen Slater.
I didn't get it, but
No, I didn't get it either. Helen
She's-
Slater came
she's
out
Supergirl.
dressed like that, and I thought, like, okay,
Yeah,
that's a cool
and
look. But I commanded zero, like, whoa,
Yeah, it
from me.
wasn't
I was
that-
like, okay,
I'll
you're
say
wearing
the
a bunch
same
of weird
thing.
shit now. Okay, you just got
I
your
want to say
hair.
something.
Yeah,
I
you look
don't
at Joan
know
Arc.
if you guys ever experienced this in life, right? There are times when it's either a video game or something like that maybe I passed up as a kid,
Yeah.
right? Do you ever play something that you never caught on before and then immediately say, "Oh, I would have went nuts for this shit if I had seen this at age
Yes.
15."
Yeah.
I am going to say that I'm not sure that I think this film would have been one of those things for me.
I don't think it would be for me
Wow,
either.
fair is fair. And you're not
Fair is
I'm gonna-
fair.
We haven't
I'm
talked about
fair.
that once,
I
by
want,
the way.
yes, I
We
totally.
will.
I was just that was my segue.
What's
That
fair
was,
is fair.
This fair is fair talk because I do want to talk about that being the catchphrase in this movie. The pose, dude. Let's talk about that. She does
I
like
kinda liked
flex
it.
her muscles, but she does it real like wide.
Look, we're in the let's get physical fitness era.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of
It
sense.
was the perfect let's get physical.
But
pose.
also, like, I'm just gonna shoot with you straight on this one, guys. I hate to
do.
do. I
Oh,
hate- you
okay.
know, I'm gonna come-
Finally.
bang bang,
Wow.
coming from the hip on this one. Just what a lackluster speech.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting just a much
More,
better speech.
so much more.
So much more. And it almost is like, it's like they almost want to fucking skip over it. It's like 10 seconds and it just ends with, fair's fair. And then it just like cuts
Yeah.
as quick as they can.
It's so
I mean,
basic.
This is my problem, I think, with a lot of this film, which I was trying to think of how do I conceptualize it, and it feels like I'm watching what would probably be an entry in like maybe like a high school film, like
in a high school film. Yeah.
Yeah.
you know what I
goddamn
mean?
good.
But I mean, like to that, I mean,
Holy
like
shit.
so much stuff happens in this movie with like
It's our high school.
zero expectation. It's almost like, well, what would happen next? Well, then this would fucking happen next. Like some kid just like came up with some crazy explosion, and that's the next scene. We just go there. We don't care how we get there. We don't care who's there when we arrive. That's the next cool thing. And then she gives this cool fucking speech, and there's like no substance. It's like the film lacks substance to
It does.
so much of the writing.
I
It's
just kept asking
very
myself
weak.
throughout the whole film to that point, like, why? I really don't feel like the motivations are enough for
But
them to be
can I-
doing
Yes.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
I felt the same way.
Can
the
I
same
ask
way.
can I ask you something though?
Sure.
Do you think 10-year-old, 12-year-old
Mhm.
Chris or Kyle would have needed that much or would you have been like living in it as a teenager or as a kid? Like, yeah, parents suck. And if they hit me, yeah, I'm gonna get all my friends together and we're gonna say, you don't fucking
Can I
do
tell you-
that.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
I
Like,
got
I'm
you,
going to
yeah.
say that is why I think that the critic to audience discrepancy is so high in this film. I think it is because you see this as an adult and you look at this film and you say, this is very unrealistic. Like, these kids never get there. Like, what is this all coming from?
Right.
But if you screw up with this film, it is... I can see why it would be. I don't think it would have worked for me, but I do think that other people would be like, oh, yeah, this is like a kid empowerment movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a very thing. It's something you can grow up with and you can watch and you can say to yourself, like, oh, yeah, like, it's about, like, reclaiming, like, your individuality in a world where, like, maybe, like, adults rule
You
everything.
just wanted to be, again,
Yeah.
like, just like the
Which
catchphrase
you're,
is.
you're not wrong.
Like the catchphrase is fair is fair. It's like you just want to be treated fairly, what you perceive to be fairly as a kid. You want to be able to make some decisions. You
Right.
want to be able to control where your life is going. Some kids just did not have that. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think my guess is that most critics were adults when they reviewed this,
Right.
and most people that were audiences were kids when they viewed it.
And
Yeah.
like I said in the beginning of the show, I think this did empower a lot of kids who may have been in
But I
abusive
haven't met that
situations.
many people who have
or-
seen this movie.
Either have I, but I'm just saying from what I've read, it may have helped some kids that were in abusive
Yeah, I
situations,
could see
or
it.
like, or were maybe have come from like lesser means, and that gave them some sort of inspiration to move on because she was such a strong character.
is that the Davies don't come from an abusive family.
Yeah, they're very, very loving mother.
The
They
mother is great.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeardley Smith's mother is kind of shitty.
Their biggest thing is they lost their father.
The biggest
and
crime
that's
is
like that's the
They
that's
live in the
big-
trailer park.
That's the thing they
Their
have
biggest
on
crime
them.
is being poor. That's their
yeah.
biggest crime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
but
Well, she was she's exploited by
Right.
that's
pirate,
the
but-
crime.
Right, which is awesome. Okay, like let's kind of jump back into that because again, like as we were saying in the beginning of the show, like you have all these things of like justice, right, as a big theme, but I felt like, man, we are so focused on the $608 that
Yeah.
are owed to us when
Yep.
it's like, no, dude, this piece of shit tried to rape you. He was trying to
Yeah.
suggest that you pay off the bike in sex. But we're not as angry about that as we are about the 600. And I get protecting your brother, and that's the theme of it.
right.
But like, it's almost like the film directors are saying like money is more important.
Oh, I
No,
don't
no,
get
I,
that.
I disagree.
No,
I disagree a lot. Like
no.
the whole point of this, I think, is to go back into her slogan: "Fair is fair." Right? you broke my thing. It's worth $608. You give me, I only want $608. The most noble thing is that I just want that amount of money back. Because remember, throughout this entire film, there are all these like dealerships and shit trying to give them fucking cars and shit.
Right.
And they're like, well, we'll give you like a $10,000 thing or a $30,000 thing.
It's
and,
the principle.
Yeah, and she's like, no, it's not about that. I want my fucking money back. I want exactly that money, not a penny more, not a penny less. Fair is fair. You owe me that shit, and that's what you get from me.
I don't disagree, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm just saying, like, also, like, where's your justice? Why are we skipping over the fact, like, until the very end when she brings it up in front of a crowd?
Right.
Like, but why are we skipping the fact that he was not only was he a piece of shit to you, yes, your brother, but he's also a piece of shit to you in
100%.
Even almost a bigger way. Like I said, to me, it feels like the film directors could have given equal time to both things, and they decided to focus on the money aspect more than.
I mean, I mean, is this too harsh to say that it's the 80s? Like the amount that you're
100%
you're
correct.
expecting is just not there. The fact that she even addressed it at the end for a film in 1985 felt to me as I was watching like, wow, what a fucking like
Big step.
What a big step for this era film. Like,
I guess that kind of annoyed
there's a
me
lot
about
of
this.
there's a lot of comments that are made too that allude to like just women like having confidence and being treated as equals throughout this film. And I thought, wow, okay, it's very very forward thinking.
I did.
Tell us how you hated that, Chris.
I just feel like it's annoying. It was just kind of annoying that like. To Cody's point, like the $608, like I do understand that's a symbol of something else, the principle of the matter and her morals and values or whatever. Right. But at the same time, it was such a fucking letdown that like this guy basically like got his little fucking stand burned down, and that was the end of it.
Oh, like the conclusion?
The conclusion to it all. I was like, this does not feel justified.
No.
Like, the guy's like running around like, somebody get me a bucket of water.
No.
And it's like
I feel like
everyone's just like burning their shit.
Not
Like,
to
okay.
mention
I feel like that's where it's kind of I actually really like this moment, right? Because it gets to the point to where he burns. He tries to give her the money back. She won't take it. But that's where I also have a problem, right? I want my $608. I want my $608. He finally fucking gives it to you, and you don't take it.
Yeah,
like you got it.
You take it for a second, and then you throw it back.
Because that's when the other moral dilemma comes.
Right.
But it's very confusing
But,
how
but
they're delivering the message. Is what I'm saying.
Isn't that the point that you're trying? In your mind, you want her to go to. You're just saying it took a long time for her to get there.
And how they address it is just kind of weird. How they it feels like they shoehorn it in.
Yeah.
But the I like this moment because it is her 100% taking all of the power away from him. Mm-hmm. They burn down his stand. It burns down all the photos of her that he was exploiting. And everybody in this town now has lost absolutely every ounce of respect they've had for this man, even his own son.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Even his own son won't
The
help
way
him.
his own son like looked back 8 times as he like snuck away from the crowd. I was like, Jesus Christ, man! You gonna look back again? Like, just making sure.
The police
like,
have lost so much respect.
Bad acting.
She has demoralized him so bad at the end of this film,
dude.
Like I felt like justice served. Now, again, justice should have been more served because it's like. Again, when you let this monster out there, he could hit. It's like I just want my
do it to someone else.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm like arrest him.
Yeah. Well, it also like it just kind of made me think of that scene at the mall where they're about to do the deal and then the son jumps out of nowhere and fucking goes after her. I'm like, that's when it should have been done. That's when this should have been like,
when the motherfucker should have been arrested.
This guy is a part of it.
At that point, I said these cops don't have any power.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
Like this
Who is this
motherfucker
guy?
planned a fucking jump to jump the girl right in front of a detective.
Right there.
But
absolutely nothing happens.
But that scene is fucking amazing. And it also, I would say, that actually speaks to what they're trying to say of the power that adults have over children and the words that adults have over children. To where this guy, an adult...
And cops.
No, you're right.
An adult can set up something so stupid and so fucking like, yes, a red flag that the adults are still like, you know what though, I'm still maybe these kids
The
are right.
stories are told differently too, because I think they interview them after the kids and the adults afterwards, and like the adults are like making up shit and the kids are like, oh man, she was great, she was awesome, she got away from him and this happened.
The one thing I will say that there's another layer to this a little bit too. I am not disagreeing that I feel like this film suffers from execution problems. Right. Like, I understand they're trying to do something. Right. But I don't think that it's all well done. But one thing that I did find interesting is the Pyatt, the guy, the shop owner.
Yeah.
And his connection to the district attorney and the kind of earworms and control he tries to apply to him.
Right.
That does kind of make the police have to stand back a little bit, right? Because he's now made this a political thing with a generally high-ranking political officer.
Irritated me so much because I'm like, at no point has the filmmaker convinced me that Pyatt, whatever his guy's name is, Pyatt is an important person in any way, shape, or form at all in the slightest. And yet this guy is fucking like just like
swinging
on
his dick
this
everywhere.
guy, on the fucking district attorney. Like, hey, you're a well-educated legal person. What if they had guns and they kill people? You're right. You're absolutely right.
Well,
we should shoot them for sure. It's like, what? How does he have influence?
The backstory of that, though, is that he has absolutely no connection with his son.
Right.
Right, so he's like,
so they're bonding over being shitty dads.
I think he cares about. No, I think he cares about his son. I think he cares about his son, but he.
I think that's called Cult Film and Review.
There you go. Maybe guilt-ridden over not being a good one. I have no idea. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think Pyatt convinces him that this is supposed to be the most noble thing to do.
I agree.
And it is not.
No, I don't think that. I just didn't feel. I feel like the guy kept responding and reacting almost in like a fear state. Like, oh my god, this voter is saying I'm not doing enough. This voter is telling me
my
that
constituent.
my constituents don't believe. Well,
you have
like what?
But keep in mind that he is now
You have a fucking helicopter.
At this stage. He is looked at as the victim of a crime.
Right, as a hostage. His son is a hostage.
Now, all of a sudden, he is getting all these kids coming into his place trying to buy stuff from him.
Oh, we're talking about different people right now. He's talking about Pyatt, right?
I am talking about Pyatt.
And you were just talking about the Congress
district attorney,
or whoever.
Once this district attorney does come in, he has to be looking at the press and saying, like, okay, the way the press is playing the story is kids stole from Guy is
been shot.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
excellent.
That's how they're looking at that time.
Detective work from our district attorney who's just kind of skimmed the news and then made a decision.
Are politicians known for doing their due diligence or worrying about their own fucking
and it's
personal
important to call them out
careers?
every fucking time.
Can I be honest with you? Also, you don't have fucking Sherlock on this case. Oh, wait for the bike to be returned is on the fucking case. This cop makes a wrong decision after wrong decision after. Like, there is a theme in this movie that the adults cannot make a good
to the
decision.
point where he's
this town
talking into the air in a mini golf course, hoping someone hears him.
This town has a terrible detectives, but excellent sharpshooters.
Seriously, he really could not even walk around the fucking whole golf course and search it, Chris.
I know.
He wandered, and then he was like, I bet you're there and there. I'll just stand here and finish my monologue.
Yeah. If you're out there. Oh, Jesus.
So I agree with that. I agree with those parts. I'm not saying that, but I think it is also just being a crime of being the ages that we are watching this film now, because I feel like you don't need as much substance as a younger viewer to connect the dots that need to be connected.
Sure, you could say that. You could also say that there's 100 other films out there that are absolutely timeless, and it doesn't matter what age you are when you see them, you understand the message.
I mean, I understand the message in this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about classism, I do think that like Karate Kid does a little bit better of a job.
He does it way better.
And doesn't even actually make it a really big major theme.
No, it just is.
Yeah.
All right, so another thing I want to talk about, big thing with this movie is it has a song.
It has a
it
song
does.
By Pat
A few songs.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it does. It has a great soundtrack. But the Pat Benatar song is the big one, Invincible, right?
I love that fucking song.
Right. Huge
Pretty
song.
sure it's the first time I've ever heard that song.
Really? I just don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
Don't know either. I don't know how that's possible.
Pretty sure
either.
because throughout the movie,
Have you ever been to karaoke or anything? I feel like I hear that at like those kind of karaoke bars
Have you
and
ever been-
shit like
have
that.
you
I
been
feel
outside
like
your
it's been on
house?
a radio or it's been
Yeah.
on a
not since 2019. Yeah. no.
Well, this song came out before 2019.
Oh, okay. No, I gotta be honest. Like I was watching it, and like the song kept popping in and out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick up on like a chorus part pretty soon. I'm gonna recognize this real soon."
I just remember
Not once.
reading before even going into this movie. I was kind of like digging in, and it was a quote of her saying, "Here's a song from the worst movie ever made."
Oh,
Pat Benatar said that?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
So I don't think she's too
I-
happy that
I
her songs in this
Disagree
movie.
with that. This is not the worst movie,
No.
but okay.
This is a.
There's a lot of other movies that are much more terrible.
Honestly, it's a great anthem choice that they chose from this movie. Like it does get you pumped in this movie every time you hear it.
Yeah.
felt
I
that
like
way, at
this.
least.
I've always liked this song.
Didn't feel pumped.
Yeah, I like the
This
song.
is a song that anytime I hear it, I sing it for like a week.
I didn't.
Kyle's gonna
But
give this
I did
5
not
stars.
know that it was in this film as much as it was.
No, me either.
Especially towards like the last 2/3 of this film.
I didn't know
feel
it was,
like they
like-
play it over.
Oh yeah,
and
they're really
over.
getting their money's
Yeah,
worth
yeah.
out of that one.
I had no idea it was like the origin of this song was from this movie.
I didn't think. Is it?
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, and I had no idea either.
Was
I had
Pat
none.
Benatar like early in '85? What was this in her career?
Pat,
I'm not.
early, I
I mean,
think.
Pat
not
Benatar
caught up
was
on her
huge in the 80s.
In
I don't really-
'85?
I
Like,
I
that's
would
what my que-
imagine.
I'm just
I don't
wondering.
know why she.
I'm just
wouldn't
asking
be.
a question.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
There
not
you
caught up
go.
on her discography.
No,
Yeah.
Pat Benatar was very very big in the 80s.
'85 by '85.
I mean, I can't. Look, I'd have to
Totally,
go back
yeah.
to see like her entire.
Just looking at the
history.
music
well, I'm just
video,
wondering
she looks.
if she did this because she was needing like a boost to her popularity, or if she did this because she was already extremely popular.
I think
Back at
And
that
she
time,
kinda called it in.
like movies
What a-
relied on
oh,
having
God.
a big hit. Like
What
this
a-
was a good way of getting that #1 hit into the
Right.
public eye.
it was such a great way to market your
Yeah.
movie and the song.
and the song.
Mm.
Like
It's a big
it
part of
was.
it,
Oh,
yeah.
I miss those days.
Like-
I do. I miss those days.
Yeah, it is
I
true.
love when a movie. Like when Batman came out, you knew you were getting some sort of
Yeah.
jam.
You always knew you were getting a jam.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I miss that shit, dude. Like movie
Yeah.
theme songs, I will love to this day because I grew up on them, and that's not going to change. And I miss
Movies
that.
now are just someone's
I feel like-
Spotify playlist.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like,
Some
the
shit that
bummer.
inspired
Real
them to
fucking
like
bummer.
write the movie.
Yeah.
right?
Can
like,
I just
want-
get the rights to this? This is what I was listening to when I wrote this scene.
Exactly.
you
I feel like
know?
we didn't really talk that much about Mr. Christian Slater at all in this movie.
Can I be honest? Like, why would we? Like, he doesn't do much.
Well,
Really?
for his
I'm
first
not gonna lie
role,
to you.
I'm
I
gonna
think
tell.
that he was pretty
Yeah.
magnetic in this
I
film.
think for his first,
magnetic.
Yeah,
Hold on.
he's one of those. It's one
you
of those.
can tell he's
rules.
gonna be a star.
Yes, exactly.
Magnetic.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
You
what
can
I would
tell-
agree with.
I will say, yes, his delivery of his lines was like he was the best actor on this,
Very natural.
in this film
Yeah.
for sure. His character,
wouldn't
I
say
feel like
he's
didn't
the-
do much.
I wouldn't say he's the best actor in this film, but I will
He's
say
not the best actor.
I
will-
would say he was.
I will say this, Kyle. You need to put some respect on Christian Slater.
I love Christian Slater.
as we have reviewed his movies
Yeah.
the most.
Cult
He
film
is-
icon.
And,
Cult
and
film
honestly,
icon.
honestly, I've probably picked most of his films because I'm a huge Christian Slater fan.
I think it's this, and I think after this is Gleaming the Cube. I think.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, another
know.
film I picked.
Yeah.
Yeah, name another one. Drop it.
Cuffs.
No. I'm trying to think where his.
I'm sorry, where's
his-
Broken Arrow at? You haven't
Yeah.
picked that one yet.
I think it comes a little later.
I mean, that's honestly a Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
Where's a Howie?
Pump up the volume. Did
Who's
you
the
pick that
football
one?
player who's in that? Is it Howie
Pump-
Howie
Oh,
Long?
you know
Howie
what?
Long film. That's a Howie Long film.
I don't know which one comes first.
It doesn't matter.
Pump
Yeah.
up the
It's-
volume
it's-
is
you know
before
it's his
Broken Arrow.
first, and you can see the makings of a good actor here.
yeah, no,
Absolutely, you can.
Oh,
Yes.
100%. I
The
don't.
character of Binks, however, was annoying and like didn't
Pretty annoying.
really
Annoying
do
little
much
brother,
to
for
help
sure.
the story in any
I
way
know-
other than make it worse
I think,
along the
well,
way.
I think you needed that. I disagree. I think you needed
you
something.
needed that at the beginning,
I
but
think
not continued
No, I think you
throughout the
needed
whole
something-
fucking film.
I think you needed something to challenge her morals and her rules throughout the
Yeah.
throughout the whole
I
film.
think-
You're right.
Yeah, I think she's the thing that she's fighting for a lot. It's like her guiding kind of
Yeah.
principle is like to see, like, yeah, she has this brother that gets into a lot of trouble, but he has a good heart, and I think that he shows that a little bit, especially
Well-
when his acceptance of Lloyd as
it's
her boyfriend. Like, I do think he like kind of like. There's a moment where I think he doesn't like Lloyd, and he immediately starts liking Lloyd, and
It's
then
when they're together and
Yeah.
she's apart from them, and
Right,
she ends
and-
up finding her way back.
yeah, and he's kind of like the prime mover of like getting that, saying like, no, my sister deserves to be happy, and I think you're the guy that's going to make that happen, and he does the right thing.
It's also her job, just as the big sister,
She's
Sure.
to
acts
take
like a
care of her
motherly.
little brother
Right.
during this whole ordeal. Like
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
her
all
dad
this
is not
kid wanted was his fucking bike back.
their parents. Like
Doesn't change my opinion on Binks.
their parents, like a lot of Generation X and elder millennials.
Yeah, don't point to
Parents,
me.
parents were not around. Just like, and your older siblings took care of you. Mine
Working
did.
and dating.
Mine did. My parents were not around. My older siblings took care of me.
Summers, my brother Ryan was in charge. He was, 3 years older than me.
Yeah, like so. I mean, there
Taking
was
care of 3 kids.
Did a
Two
good job.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah. You did a good job. Good job,
You
Ryan.
did a good job.
Thanks, Ryan.
Good job, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Way to go, guys.
But I mean, that was like
Yeah.
that was
And you're
that was
right.
the thing.
I agree. It kind of keeps her her morals in check because she has to look after him and his best
Right.
interests. So
She has to guide
yeah.
him now. She is the guiding force. The dad's not there to do it anymore. The mom's
Sure.
going on dates a lot, trying to find a new husband.
Right.
He's not around.
But even
so
look at
she
how
has to raise Binks now, and she has to raise. This is why I think she's so strong on her morals and her rules, is because she has to be the role model for her little brother.
true, and it's also displayed when we did the one scene we really
Hmm.
see her mom when she's like basically coaching her before she goes on a date. You know, she's like,
Yeah.
you need to show your eyes. You've got pretty eyes.
mean-
you know?
I mean,
and
what
she's
a-
got
I-
shows this gentleness towards
Yeah.
her mother.
I will
like-
agree.
Those
We-
sunglasses
that's
are
a weird
badass.
play. You throw sunglasses on at night. Go on
Those
your date.
sunglasses were badass,
What
no
are you
matter
talking
what
about?
time
That's-
it is. dude.
Again, also a hot song at this
Do you
time.
want?
I
do you
wear
want
my
those
sunglasses. at
Oh
night.
yeah, yeah.
What's that?
That's a hot song right now.
What's a hot
I
song?
wear my sunglasses at night, so
At the
I
time.
Can, so
At the time?
Yeah.
In '85.
I don't
Yes.
know. I'd have to look it up.
So let me
it,
ask-
might, it might be 86. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Okay, so she was a trendsetter then.
Yeah, maybe.
Let me ask you guys this: that was there any characters in this film that personally resonated with you that you could see yourself in, or like could
I
feel
don't-
like a
I-
personal level, you attached to on a personal level? Because I feel like these characters touch people on a personal level.
I just wasn't one of these kids.
Yeah.
I wasn't
get
the
it.
type of kid that like. I don't think I got really excited about films that like felt like, oh man, like us kids got to like band together and like do it. Like I don't like I can't remember a lot. The films that always like resonated with me are like kids that like got lost in imagination, like Never Ending Story or something
Right.
like that. I don't think I resonated so much with like kids like overcoming oppression.
Yeah,
Yeah, I there. Now that you're saying it, I will say, from when I'm thinking about my tastes of films, like, and my wife Sammy knows this, but it's like, I think I do really have a problem with this, like, kids in adult situations stuff, because that's pretty much the entire WB of today.
Yeah.
Is these like high school kids who are dealing with like these, and it's just like, I don't know. For me, I find it always far fetched, or it's very easy for it to quickly go into the realm of just insane and never would have happened. It's a very fine line of like believable and or outlandish.
I mean, if I was a kid at the time when this came out, a teenager, whatever, around this age, with the interests that I had as a teenager, I would have been all about fucking Lloyd. I would have been like, I want to live in a house with a
Right. Oh,
fucking
yeah.
water
Okay.
slide
No,
and have a
100%,
bunch of fucking
100%.
cool
And again,
horror shit.
Lloyd
yeah,
would have
I
been
I
do.
my
disagree.
favorite character.
Maybe if anybody, it would have been Lloyd.
going
yeah.
back,
Lloyd.
see, I see myself in Binks and in
Okay.
and in the fucking Billie Jean, because that felt like, again, me and my sister raised me a lot of the time.
Mhm.
And like my parents were not around because my mom was always working and my dad was always doing whatever the fuck he was doing. You know what I mean? So it was like my sister was that person. Like when I came home and I was beat up from school, my sister was the one like, all right, let's go fucking fight
Yeah,
them. I'm going to go
yeah.
fight them.
Yeah, yeah,
And my sister was the one that would go beat up my bullies because
I was
she
the
had
older
this
brother,
she had this,
so.
she had a thing of injustice like just built
Yeah.
into her where it's like, yeah, fair is fair. She's never seen this movie, but it was
Fair
built into her.
is
She's
fair.
the Billie Jean of the family.
She's the
Yeah,
Billie
right.
Jean
Billie Jean
of
of
the
them.
Everett
and
clan.
you're the
Yeah.
Binks.
So I could see. Well, that's even the crazy thing. It's not even of the Everett clan. We all got different dads, dude. So it's like, again, I can relate to this.
What do
like,
you guys
Yeah.
collectively refer to yourselves as?
the fucked up?
So is that what I should address? Like your
Collectively,
Christmas
though.
card
Specifically.
to?
Hey, no,
or-
only we can say that. You can't say
Yeah,
that.
I can't say it.
Well,
Us
we can
as
say
a
it.
collective
Yeah.
being me and my sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can say that, but you can't.
Yeah, Yeah, I can see. Okay.
All right, guys, what do you say we rate this Mammer Jammer?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
I think we're there.
I don't think our fan selected something. She simply rated it Mamma Jamma.
No, she said 10 out of 10. So
She said 10 out of 10,
we
but
can
she
assume
didn't
this is a
pick a
5.
rating.
5 out of 5.
We
yeah.
can assume this is 5 out of 5.
But she didn't pick a rating.
I think
So
we-
we
No
have to
symbol.
pick that.
We
No,
think-
she didn't,
symbol.
but what did we
I think we should do wetsuits. How many wetsuits?
wetsuits.
Yeah.
Just a wetsuit on its
Sleeveless
own.
wetsuit.
How many sleeveless wetsuits?
like a wetsuit on a mannequin.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
High
Okay.
collared wetsuits.
Yeah.
Okay,
I call her
wetsuits,
wetsuits
fine.
with baggy jeans.
Baggy pants tucked into boots. Are we going
Sounds
to
good.
rate this?
All right, let's set the bar high here. Let's go with the guy who obviously loved this film the most tonight. And that's Kyle Smith.
Okay, yeah, we can go with me first. Yeah, where do I begin? This my problem. I already said what my problem was earlier in the show, which was this film to me felt underdeveloped as a whole. It was a lot of big ideas. This is why I said film festival when I said earlier high school film. Because the thing with film festivals is you go see it, and of course there's like a fucking 3-minute film trying to tell a 4-hour fucking story. And it's just disjointed, and they don't have time for exposition, so they're just hopping from one thing to the fucking other, and then all of a sudden you're at the credits. Like, this film had that problem. Now, I like the message 100%. Like, it actually struck me a few moments in this film. I was like, holy shit, like, this is kind of ahead of its time. Like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, I dig it. I'm in it. But it didn't resonate with me as much as it seems like it resonated with you guys.
You don't know.
But I don't
No
know.
idea.
I don't.
It's a
I
weird
don't.
You don't
number
know.
I'm
one,
based
buddy.
off my assumptions, but overall, like I can't hit this movie down too hard because it does offer a perspective and it does have some social commentary that I think is important and is good for the film. So I'm going to come in at a 2 on this one.
Okay.
2. Wow.
All right.
That still is lower than I thought.
You said 2?
That's
2.
2.
At
2
2.5.
sleeveless wetsuits?
2.5
Okay.
actually is probably fair.
Yeah.
It's a middle of the road film.
Okay,
It's not high.
2.5.
It's not terrible.
I'll
it's
settle
middle.
for
A
that.
good decent amend.
2.5. I will recorrect.
Okay.
Okay.
2.5 wetsuits.
All right. I'll go next. I am at 3. I am at a 3 with my review. I enjoy this film, but hey, your 2.5 is the middle of the road. I'm saying it's a little bit better than the middle of the road there.
Yeah.
Just the
3
way
is
you were
above
fighting
average.
my
All right.
rating.
No, I
you
just
were,
wanted
you were
to
at a
hear where you were
5.
at.
Well, you said 2 first.
Yeah.
That's true. 2 felt wrong.
2 felt real low.
Yeah.
2 felt like an attack even when it came out of
It
my
did.
mouth. Yeah.
It did.
Attack.
So, but I'm at a 3. Because I will agree with you, Kyle. The way I've been thinking about this movie the whole time is it has a deep message, but a shallow execution, is the way I would put it.
That's a great way to put it.
There is a lot of things that you can dig into this movie of like, are they trying to say this? Are they saying this? But you can't, it just feels like they never fully develop their thoughts. I love Helen Slater in this movie. I thought she is the perfect cast for this movie. Just this
Yeah.
part, from beginning to end. I just I had fun with the story, and I kind of just had to keep reminding myself, put yourself in the position of seeing this as a kid, not as an adult. And would this be a movie you're into? And I was like, yeah, because I did feel that way. I did feel ignored by adults. I did feel at times that no one believed me. And I did feel like, if only someone would listen, then, they would see that things are not as happy as they should be or whatever the situation may
Right.
be. And maybe there was times I was wrong about it, but there was a lot of times where I did feel I was right and I was justified in how I felt, but I didn't have the power to control it. And I wish I did, maybe like some people did, like with Billie Jean. So with that, I do enjoy the themes. The music's fun. There's I got to knock it down a little bit too. The editing is a little shoddy. There's some real hard cuts in the middle of action scenes.
Yeah,
Where there's like, what's that about? The soundtrack helps propel this movie, and the pacing is a little off. There is a little issue with the pacing, but I just in love the 80s aspect storytelling of this movie. I think if you enjoy 80s movies and you like almost weird adventure, somewhat road trip movies, this might be one for you. So I'm at a 3. That's me.
Okay.
All right, Chris.
I'm at just a real solid 2.5. Like, this movie is so middle of the road for me. I watched it twice, and even after that second watching, I came away going, God, I just don't know how I feel about this movie. I know I don't love it, but I don't dislike it. I have a problem with again, like I know there's a message here, and I know there's a few messages going on simultaneously. But at the same time, just like Cody and Kyle said, the execution of getting those messages across or driving them home enough, like for me to give a shit, like just wasn't enough for me to be okay with like the disjointed telling of the story. Kind of, I feel like we spend a lot of time in this movie with them on the run, and I'm just like I kind of lose track of like where we are. I'm like we're at a mini golf course, then we're at some underground lair with all these Billie Jean wannabes, like then we're at another golf course,
Very
then
Eminem.
we're in the then she's jumping in a car, now she's on anyways, like it just gets lost, and like I think that's the pacing issue you're probably referring to. Is it just
Yes.
I feel like we could have had more
Yeah.
storytelling, more building up of maybe Billie Jean's character, like her becoming this Joan of Arc type character. I felt like it was honestly like pretty weak when she revealed her look. I thought to myself, that doesn't feel strong. That doesn't feel tough. Like that's kind of goofy, number one. And number two, like the way she kind of like bashfully poses in this look does not showcase strength to me. So, and then even her delivery in the video was like, whatever. I don't know, really understand why everyone's getting all like pumped on this. I just don't see the energy there. Now, do I think Helen Slater is a good actress? Yes. I think has a very strong performance in this movie, very subtle and strong at the same time. My biggest praise in this movie is that I think pretty much all of the acting is worthwhile, even down to Ophelia. I think her kind of lame character is still a good presence to have in this movie. But yeah, pacing's kind of off. It doesn't really hit with me. Maybe if I saw it, or in the 80s, like as a teenager, I would have felt more empowered by it. But honestly, it just left a lot to be desired for me. So it's just a 2.5. Right down the middle.
Do you feel like he really wanted to say like 1.5, but he couldn't do it after you
No.
got shit for your 2?
I think he would have reveled in taking this
When it first came out of his mouth, I thought 2, and then he corrected to 2.5 as he said
I
it.
saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it too.
That's what it felt like.
I'm just kidding, Chris. We're just
No,
kidding.
because it's not
You're
above.
rating.
It's not under average. I mean, I
No,
would say it's
I agree.
average.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
we're
I agree with
fucking-
everything you say. I'm just
gonna
giving you
cut
shit.
that out.
I'm
yeah.
just giving you shit.
No,
That's
we'll
just
cut all
kinda
that out.
what
We'll just jump to Mike.
We're just all right. And Mike.
All right.
I'm gonna be. I don't want to say the outlier. It's not like that far off, but I'm gonna be the guy. I think I'm gonna give this a 3.5.
I don't think you're an outlier. I think that's a
Okay.
I think that's a
Okay.
respectable score.
No, I was mostly laughing at you
I was-
stammering.
Okay.
I was between a 3.5 and a 3.
I
I'm
was
not gonna lie.
I was about I came into this going with a 3.5. I think in the middle when we were talking about it, I kind of dumped it, brought it down to a 3, but I went back to a 3.5, and I'm going to tell you why. I agree with everything everybody is saying here. I think that the film suffers primarily from execution, and I do feel like some of the it doesn't feel like a real thing that would ever happen. The suspension of disbelief was a little too much for me in terms of that. But 2 things I liked. Love the acting. I actually think that Christian Slater might be the weakest actor in this, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think he does a pretty good job. I think everybody in here is pretty good.
Yeah.
All the things were pretty good. But the thing I like about this film the most is I feel like even though it wasn't executed well, this film's got a lot of heart. And I did
Agree.
feel really good about that as I was watching it. I feel like I connected with everybody. I don't know why everybody keeps talking about like the part where she cuts her hair and she comes out that wasn't impactful. I'm not saying it was like a huge
She looked
thing.
like she was ready to fight a Terminator, Chris.
I just kind of I can see why kids at that era would have been like, "Oh, dang." I liked that scene. I didn't think it was that bad. I think this film was a nice little solid film. I felt really good watching it for some reason. Even though I rolled my eyes quite a bit during it, I still felt really good. I felt really good when they took down Pyatt. Felt real good. That was a very satisfying ending for me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you fucking shit's burnt down. Everybody hates you in this town. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Felt really good about that. I thought Billie Jean was a reluctant yet effective hero. And I think that Binks like does a really good job as being like the kind of like wild card outlier and stuff like that. I don't know. I just felt it was a really solid film.
Voice is getting real high there.
For me.
How'd you feel about just real quick the ending part of the movie, which is a story that's going on throughout the film about him wanting to go to Vermont, and then they end up in Vermont.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Completely
We didn't bring
ignored
up Vermont once, which is insane because they bring it about
so much about fucking Vermont.
He is so obsessed with it. It is
very much so.
Does it almost?
And he keeps thinking that he can drive there in an hour.
Yeah.
It's like,
just go tonight.
no, motherfucker.
Does it almost feel like she's telling him that story in a what's that fucking
Jesus.
Just like fucking look at the rabbit, George. Like what's that fucking shit? Like you know what I mean?
Mice and Men.
Mice and Men. Does it not feel a little Mice and Men?
Keep looking at the rabbit, George.
Can I tell you something?
Does it not feel?
I thought that too.
It does. It feels a little Mice and Men. Like we're gonna make it there someday.
The thing I do feel about the Vermont thing is that I do feel it was a little bit endearing in that, like, there are a lot of films that like look at like they'll be obsessed with like a state or like the way of life that they see on a poster somewhere, which I think was very clear at the beginning of this film. Like he has a poster of this like girl in a bikini, and she's like, "This is ski
like
life."
Vermont travel agency put out there fucking
like
11
Vermont,
by 17,
right? And all these kids just like, "Oh, we can get maple syrup whenever we want."
Dreaming of something totally different. They come from the desert. They
don't know.
You know.
They don't fucking know, man. Like I don't know. I thought it was a kind of a cute little thing that they put in there, but.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Remember, if you would like to get a fan pick, and make sure you head over to cultfilmreview.com. Make sure you follow us on social media. Make sure you follow us on social media, cultfilm_review on Instagram and TikTok. Please make sure you follow us and subscribe on wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube.
There it is.
It's very important that you do it on YouTube as well. Make sure you guys
exclusively.
You can watch us there. You can watch us there.
You could watch us there.
We are visible.
We got other stuff on there. We got other stuff.
See our faces.
Cameras are on.
Cameras are on. You can check it out. Make sure you find us, Cult Film Review, on there. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen. It's very important. We're only on once a month. You don't want to miss our show. Make sure you head over to iTunes. You leave us a review. If you do, you're going to get a shout out at the end of the show, like we're going to do right now. We had one from the UK. This one's titled Mamma Jamma.
Mamma Jamma.
Is a 5-star review. It says, "What a great pod. The guys bring an effortless eloquence that I love so much to their reviews. And there's some occasional philosophy, too. No egos here, just passion, knowledge, humor, honesty, and humility. I've been listening for 5 years and still don't know what Mamma Jamma is, but I have brought it into daily use at home and have heard my 12-year-old son is using it, too. Probably using it incorrectly. Let's do this Mamma Jamma when something needs to be done urgently."
No, I mean, yeah.
Is that right? I think that's
okay.
It's
okay. I never understand British people and their usage of the word cheeky.
I didn't know that was
it means being silly or funny or
but they'll say everything. Like it could be like overtly sexual. They'll talk about
what are we turning this
into
here?
About beer, and they'll be like, "What a cheeky pint." No, I don't understand that.
They have film suggestions here. So film suggestions for review is Drugstore Cowboy and Happy Birthday to Me. That's from Rocket 9999. In Great Britain. Thank you so much for that.
Rocket 9999.
Mamma Jamma is from the song She's a Bad Mamma Jamma. I say Mamma Jammer. I put an on there because I'm not good at the American English language either. And that's how I use it I use it as a noun. It's a person, place, or thing, and I also do use it as an adjective. I use it pretty much.
It's a catch-all. It's a catch-all word. It doesn't have a meaning. It's just whatever you feel.
It is whatever you feel, and so I would say you are using it correctly.
It's like saying this thing, right? Yes. Let's do this thing. Right?
You're using it correctly, and I just want to thank because I feel like. What was this person's username?
Rocket 999.
Rocket 999. Like I feel seen by Rocket 999. So thank you for that review.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of got me was the whole humility and
eloquence.
The thing, yeah, because Chris
broad podcast for sure.
Chris has no humility,
zero,
no elegance. He's all about him.
Elegance.
Yeah.
All about him. This whole show is about. You guys don't see the behind the scenes,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, it's a lot of abuse.
No, they hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Sometimes
you
an abusive clip comes in every now and
Yeah.
again.
yeah, and sometimes I cry after we record these.
But guys, thank you so much again. If you give us a shout out on iTunes, write us a little review, we will give you a shout out on the show. We will read it out loud. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for joining the cult. Thank you for being a dedicated cult member for the last 5 years. That's insane. That means you started with us, which is also insane because those episodes were terrible. And we just appreciate you listening for this long. It still are.
Haven't improved.
That's right. Again, that's our show for this month, guys. Remember, if you're going to join a cult, just make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next time.